So the Buzzz has been adored for years for being just fast, straight, reliable, and just going really far for a mid-range. Now, there are some newcomers to the game though that have been getting a lot of traction, and that is the Hex and the Pathfinder. Now, a lot of people say that these are just as straight and reliable, and they almost go further than the Buzzz. And so today we're gonna be looking at these, comparing it to the Buzzz, and seeing how they stack up. So let's talk about it. Oh, and of course, you can't talk about the Pathfinder, Hex, and Buzzz without talking about which one flies the furthest, right? Which one's the farthest flying mid-range? We're gonna talk about that too. But yeah, so getting into the feel of these is pretty interesting. So like the Buzzz feels a lot different than most of these other ones, but the other two, so with the Pathfinder, let's see. Yeah, we're good. With the Pathfinder, this one is made, if you didn't know, Thought Space Athletics is manufactured by MVP. And so they have the same plastic and everything, they're just not overmolded. And obviously everyone knows Axiom is basically MVP. They're manufactured by MVP. I'm almost certain that they're the same company right now, almost. Like, I don't know for sure about that, but it almost seems like it is. And so when you look at them, like, I would not be surprised if the Pathfinder mold is literally the exact same mold as the Hex. Let me put my bag by the mic and hopefully blocks out the wind there, maybe? All right, so hopefully the wind's not that bad, but if you look at the Pathfinder and the Hex, like they're almost identical. Like you can tell that the Pathfinder is a little bit different, but at the same time, like, I wouldn't be surprised if that difference is solely due to this being different plastic and this not being an overmolded mold. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if this is basically the same disc. It's just one's overmolded and one's not. This one is the Ethos Eric Oakley Signature Edition, which, by the way, all of these discs, well, not the Hex, but Thought Space Athletics, Pathfinder, we have these in the store at apollodiscgolf.com if you wanted to check these out. And we have Discraft now. So we've got a bunch of Buzzes on the website, along with some of Paul McBeth's discs. We got some Passions. We've got Discraft on the website now. It's been a long wait because of COVID to get them on the site, but we got them now if you want to check them out. But yeah, like these feel almost identical. Now the Pathfinder, this Pathfinder and Ethos plastic feels deeper than the Hex, and it has, like, I would say all of these discs are practically flat, but the Pathfinder has like the slightest of domes on it. But it's still generally flat. This one has the slightest dome on it. The Hex that I have is board flat, like absolutely board flat, but they both feel great. The Ethos, I've always thought the Ethos plastic, same with the Votems, I talked about that a little bit in one of my T-Bird videos, but the Ethos plastic is a little bit slippery. It is nice and stiff, but it is a little bit slick. Again, kind of like what I said with the Razor Claw video. That is a big breeze. Kind of like what I said with the Razor Claw video, I wouldn't be surprised if after use and scuffs up and stuff that it gets a little grippier. Woo, it's windy out here. Which, by the way, in my last video, someone was kind enough to comment and say that Europeans measure wind with meters per second, not kilometers an hour, like we do miles per hour. Who knew? I didn't know, obviously. But from now on, I'll put meters per second. So thanks for letting me know. But yeah, if you haven't felt a Buzzz, then one, what are you doing? You're in the sport of disc golf. You should have at least tried a Buzzz and a Rock by now. Like, they've only been around for 20 years. So the Rock longer. Rock's been out like 30 years. But the Buzzz, it looks a little bit similar, except for the fact that the edge of the rim is a lot more blunt. So it's a little fatter at the edge, and so because of that, I would think that it's a little bit more stable. But it does feel deeper than all of them. It is a little, this one, most of them are flat. If they do have a dome, it's kind of like this Pathfinder, to where it's like a small, slight, consistent dome. usually when they have the Buzzes, but this one's like board flat, so it feels really comfortable in the hand. But the Buzzz is the deepest, so if you have small hands or you like shallower discs, Pathfinder and Hex are it in terms of feel over the Buzzz. But yeah, let's get into the flight. So disclaimer, I bag Buzzes, and so it was a lot easier to get good flights out of the Buzzz than it was the Hex and the Pathfinder. I don't know if that's the mold or if that's just because I bag Buzzes and I've been throwing them for years and I haven't with these. So but yeah, let's talk about the flight. So one thing I did forget to mention on the feel is that the Pathfinder and the Hex are a little bit, like, have a smaller diameter than the Buzzz. So if you're one of those people who don't really like the narrower, smaller diameter mids, then you might not like these. Or if you're one of those who don't like the wider mids, then you might not like the Buzzz. So, but the Pathfinder does seem to be sharper. But anyways, we're supposed to be talking about the flights. The flights of these, they're all very nice. They all fly very straight, not much left to right movement at all. They're just dead straight mids. Now I will say both the Hex, so in my experience, the Pathfinder is probably the straightest out of all of them. Nice little breeze. The Pathfinder is the straightest out of all of them, I would say. So it's not as overstable, doesn't fight the winds nearly as much as the Buzzz or the Hex. Because of that, this one definitely flies the furthest. So if you're talking like what's the farthest flying mid-range, like the Pathfinder is probably one of those. Like you can pump it really hard, like flat or the touch of hyzer, and it's just gonna pop up and fly just dead straight for a very long time and have a lot of glide to it. The Hex, I would say, is a touch more stable, so it still fought the winds pretty decently, but again, this one also just really, really far. The Pathfinder did fly a little bit further for me. I don't know if that's just the how I was throwing it or if it's the disc itself, but consistently the Pathfinder was landing a little bit further. Now when I'm talking about distances, I'm talking like the Pathfinder was maybe 10 feet further. So it's like when you're throwing them like full power and you're throwing them over 300 feet, then 10 feet is just, it's a toss-up. Like, but for sure the Buzzz was more consistent for me. Now that consistency could be that I've been throwing the Buzzz for like I've literally been throwing the Buzzz since I started playing the game in like 2012. So I've been throwing the Buzzz for 10 years. So that could possibly be why I'm getting a just more consistent flight out of this, just because I'm more confident with it. But I do feel like that this Buzzz was more stable, like a touch more stable than these, and it has less glide, so it doesn't go as far as these ones. Like if you're just going pure distance competition, I don't think the Buzzz is gonna beat out the Hex or the Pathfinder. These are gonna fly further for you, but I just really like how controllable this is. Like you can pump it and throw it really far and hard. It's just not gonna go as far as these, but this is just gonna hold its stability and it holds its lines a little bit better. Again, that could be because I've been throwing it. Again, that could be because I've been throwing Buzzes for 10 years, and these I literally threw this once for that one, my Hex review, and then I've thrown the Hex for one round, and that was for my Hex review, and this is the first round I've thrown a Pathfinder. So take this all with a grain of salt, because I've been throwing this for so much longer, but these are just solid mids. Now I do like the Buzzz because you can find overstable versions of these. Now I'm not just talking about the Buzzz OS, but actual Buzzes that come out a little stable, which those are really nice. I don't know if you can say the same with the Hex and the Pathfinder. They just won't fight the winds as well, but the Hex did hold up pretty well. There was like a 15 to 20 mile per hour breeze, and this one still held up pretty well. I did pump the Buzzz harder and not throw it as clean, and it held just about as well as the Hex. So if I threw the Buzzz similarly to the Hex, it probably would have held more. And like I have like this first run Buzzz And granted it's not as overstable anymore because I've had it in the bag since it came out, but this one is pretty dang stable. It fights the winds really well, and it still has that speed and consistency of a Buzzz, which I really like. But I think the Hex and the Pathfinder just have more glide to them. They can take the power and just pump them out there like the Buzzz, but they just have a little straighter of a finish, and they just have more glide to keep flying. And you can tell that on a couple of these holes that are downhill. The Buzzz kind of just, it went fast and far and straight, but it kind of fell out of the sky a little bit more, when these just wanted to keep going and push forward more with more glide. And it's just, so these went significantly further when thrown downhill, because of that extra glide and that straighter flight. So yeah, so is the Pathfinder the farthest mid-range ever? Maybe. It flew farther for me than these. I don't know. You let me know if you guys throw any of these. And like I said, if you want to pick up the Buzzz or the Pathfinder or even the Hex, I'll have a link in the description of where you can get those. But thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.